Housing and Education Outreach Subcommittee, part of our Workforce Housing and CDA joint work to establish a new workforce housing fund. TBD on that name, but it is Wednesday, June 11th, and the meeting is opened. Oh man, right as my food gets here, one moment, please.
Sure.
Daphne, is there a time frame or anticipated date when all those changes and role changes will happen? Or is it kind of as soon as possible?
Yeah, we're kind of working as soon as possible. So yeah, the last thing we have to do is rehire Scott's position, the placemaking planner. But we're hoping we can just, reach out to all the other applicants that, had already applied for his position like 2 months ago. And hopefully hire someone from that group. So it should be pretty fast now. Like within, the next couple of weeks, we should have solidified everything. Yeah.
Cool.
All right, sorry guys.
No
I'm on the
worries.
East Coast, so all my timing's messed up today. Is that how I do it, Daphne? Did I do it right? Opening
Yes. Yeah.
besides.
No, that was totally fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So the next thing is just the approval of the minutes, and I will just note that I just put all of the members under members present, so I'll just update that to 3 people who were there at the last meeting. But I think that's the only thing that needs to be corrected. If you guys
Yep.
had any other comments.
Motion to approve the minutes as written, save for the edits that Daphne just mentioned.
And Alan, you can actually just approve the minutes as
Approved.
yes.
Approved.
Okay, great. And then our next item, the only other item is just our main agenda item. So talking about our affordable housing plan. I know Carrie had mentioned that she had done an evaluation of our website and of the regional housing strategy website. Actually, let me share that. That might be helpful to go over at this meeting.
Yeah, Daphne, I noticed some new like icons and stuff on the planning section, which I
Yes.
think helped show, for ours at least, all the resources.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So we're still tinkering with that. I'll probably have our communications manager take a look at it and like add some of these like pictures and things, because right now it's just a lot of links and a lot of things for you guys to look through. So yeah. But yeah. So yeah, I think the main thing, I'll make this larger for you guys to see. So the main thing with the regional housing strategy that Carrie mentioned was, they have all these pictures, but they don't seem to really correlate with any of the links below.
Yeah.
And so she would like to, have those kind of grouped. We in our last meeting we talked about the like 3 main target audiences, so like grouping it by those target audiences would be helpful. And then for the Sun Prairie one, yeah, they use like a GIS kind of website, which is interesting. So it is a lot of scrolling through the navigations just because the website isn't really set up to be, used in that sort of way, but
Yeah.
yeah, so that that is definitely something that we should also keep in mind. Yeah, and then finally, just for Middleton, you know, having key points and then just having links to provide helpful resources, but maybe also making it a little bit more engaging. So, yeah. Any other ideas that you guys can think of for the website?
I mean, I wasn't able to be at the last meeting, so I don't know how
Mhm.
in depth you got, but I did read through Carrie's kind of review and then looked at
Yeah.
the Middleton website, and w- I don't know how you see it being used, but I almost feel like I would like to have like a top 5 quick links, because I think sometimes
Mhm.
people, if you're looking at residents who are in housing crisis or something,
Yeah.
like think about having like whatever your 911 equivalent is, like the 411, and like the top 5 I need help fast thing
Yeah. Yeah.
available.
We
think-
I like
had,
that idea a lot.
Yeah.
yeah, at the last meeting, we talked about that we want at least that initial link in ours to be the homepage for everything, so that if we
Mhm.
had documents, we could just consistently use the same link URL, the same QR code. If we make little business cards to hand out as we talk to people, like, hey, this is where you can go to get more. But to your point, I think highlighting some of those key, frequent or very important things, definitely worthwhile.
And then just, oh, thank you. I mean, also just like building a mobile first strategy that
Absolutely.
most people are going to be looking at this on their phones. So yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Which is why I think, yeah, with that URL, the landing page, mobile friendly, and then, we can go as far down the rabbit hole as we feel like we need to or want to with any of the
Yeah.
detail here. What we did think as far as organization of that page was, at least thinking or designing in terms of a couple of key constituencies that we know that we want to do the outreach to. And then that would inform, basically what our landing page looks like. So the last time we met, one of the takeaways was, all right, we came up with some initial brainstorms of what those constituencies were, but it was, let's list out those groups and what it is that we specifically want to produce or get to those people, to inform them or share what we're kind of hoping to do in the city of Middleton and what Dane County as a region is trying to do. Explain why it's important, answer questions, dispel myths. So I spent some time drafting in the interim. John, I don't know if you had come up with anything. I can switch to my screen if we want to move
Yeah.
into that discussion.
Yeah, go ahead, Alan.
Yeah, you could, yeah.
Okay. And I'll get this uploaded to the site so we can all make edits, because I just want us to make edits in the document, and then we can, I don't know if we vote on this committee or what we do, but present it to the larger group for like, hey, this is what our education subcommittee is kind of planning. Do you guys feel good about this? Okay, let's get the vote. All right, now let's go do it. I added a couple of other constituencies. The main 4 that we had come up with last time was general public, so general anybody. Well, I'm thinking like the Middleton Library wall of handouts and information that I always peruse when I'm there. People in the business community, but so they know, like, what are we trying to do to get allow your workers to be able to afford to live here and be close to your businesses, because it's a huge quality of life thing for anybody. Partners and developers who would build. So these are the builders. And this was one where, Daphne, when I reviewed the website, a lot of this stuff is probably in your economic development section of the website. So
Right.
potentially carve a lot of this stuff out into there. And then renter information, because that was a key element of the larger group wanting to provide the quick access and information for renters for connecting them to help that they need and whatnot. The other three that I had been reflecting on in the interim time period was for our alders. So they need to be able to, understand what's going on and be able to speak to their constituents about what we're trying to do. So ideas for like listening sessions with the alders to hear what their concerns are with doing this, so that we can provide them with resources, talking points, materials that they can share within their individual districts to help us kind of see this thing through. And then another one, and this was from, I don't know if it was previous discussions or a meeting that I had with the school board, but partnering with the Middleton Cross Plains School District to talk about this and why it's important. The last I heard that the enrollment numbers were going down because people can't afford to live in the Middleton Cross Plains School District. And that, while not a crisis now, could eventually become a larger problem for the school district at large. So making sure that we are communicating with them that like Middleton as a community, as part of Dane County, as part of the school district, is invested in making it affordable for families to live here. And frankly, for teachers to live in Middleton, right?
And other school support staff.
Yeah. The whole village that makes the schools
Yeah.
work. We want them to be able to live. So that might be as part of our targeted education to the rest of these groups of like, here's a snapshot of what a teacher makes in our geographic area, and let's overlay that with median housing costs.
Right.
Like what is, that 30% of income, what kind of house in our community can that buy? And is that a good sell to an educator that wants to live here, or a para who wants to live here, or any of the people that make our school district work live here, right?
Yeah.
And then the last one was we had a student representative on the CDA, but that was like another constituency that I was thinking about, like, are we sending people out of our community and they can't afford to move back here? What are the kinds of things that we want to talk about with people who are starting their lives, careers, education, and does the cost of living here hurt or help them in making decisions of where they want to live?
I remember Mike Davis making this exact point that his daughter could not. This is my grill cover. I don't know why I can't turn off my. But Mike Davis making the point that his young adult daughter could not afford to live in the community that she grew up in. So
yeah, I think those are awesome points. I was actually just talking to Alder Charles Myers today, and he was like, the alders really need to get involved with like knowing, they have to have, at least, some kind of quick snapshot of like what they can say to their, constituents. So yeah, I think it's definitely very important to have.
Yeah. So that was that's the high level. I think, we could save a spot here for structuring out a timeline over the next 12 months, which it would be very fuzzy right now, but as we kind of coordinate with the planning and finance group, maybe have some more targeted dates in there. I always like working in pairs just because there seems to be some built-in accountability there, and one can help the other as things get busy or not.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was see if there's any ideas or thoughts or feedback on how we might structure that part.
This is where like being in the subcommittee is a little tricky, because how we build things will depend on what the other subcommittee decides to do. And I was wondering if we would want at some point to have like a portal or a means of self-identification for small landlords, like missing middle landlords.
Mm.
Because like I tell people, my mom was at Oakwood Village after she broke her hip, and one of her aides was like, I'd love to live, be on the west side, but I can't find anything. And I'm like, drive around my neighborhood, downtown Middleton. Like there's usually a couple signs up, and I don't necessarily see those people advertising.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether some people might want to self-identify as being, a homeowner landlord or something who would want to be able to say they offer missing middle housing
Yeah.
or housemates or, all those less formal solutions.
Yeah. So this is, I think, so after the timeline structure, I have some rough metrics for success. So like what numbers or things would we be accountable to of like, what does success look like if we do this right? And then
So Alan, you're not, I don't see your document anymore. I don't know if
Oh,
you meant to keep sharing
Mhm.
it.
I can, well, I could still see it, Alan. I don't know.
Oh,
okay, trying again, going back. Turn it on and off again, guys. That's tech tip numero uno. How about now, Carrie?
thank you. Thank you.
Okay, good, good. So is timelines and team structure, metrics for success. And again, these are all just like, I got something on paper so that we could tear them up and rewrite them and delete them and add more.
Mhm.
And then values and approach, again, just some rough ideas here. Then where we get into the, okay, now what is our constituent group. So I have a heading for each item and some specific deliverables. So for that, missing middle, sorry for all the scrolling. We might add that as a key deliverable here of like, we will host a registry or some kind of database of available units that aren't on an app or on the internets or whatever, right? And that might even be like something that one of our community partners has or tries to do, and we can just give more gas to that initiative. But I dig that. I don't know what I would call this. This is like the off-grid units.
Yeah, something.
And then one item I kind of wanted to throw in here is like, okay, the deliverables are what we're saying, okay, this is what we want to do. And then a stretch goal is like, okay, if we suddenly become incredibly ambitious and ultra productive, what's a thing that we might go for, right?
Yeah.
Just because I think that's always fun. Yeah.
So helpful.
And then I think, yeah, that was the end of it.
Okay.
But very similar structure for each kind of constituent group. And again, this is probably at this point more of like our design and thought capturing. We said at the last meeting, it's not really gonna be a thing to educate anybody until we know what the finance planning committee comes up with. Like, are we just writing checks? Are we doing like, what does it look like? So
Mhm.
that'll be kind of a collaboration between the two work groups, I think. But this, I think, getting something on paper so that we can, like I said, change it to a consensus that we all feel good about is what I was trying to do with the first draft here.
Yeah, I think this looks awesome. Yeah, if you could add it to our SharePoint so that we can like maybe like add comments and like work on it between now and our
Yeah.
next meeting, that would be awesome.
And have you all, a big fan of the editing tools here, so you can track changes and then it just keeps a log. And I think just make the changes that you want. The other way to do it is to add a comment like, hey, I think we should add this, but then there's just another step of adding it. But any preferences on how we kind of collaboratively write this?
I
Oh, I
think,
like that.
yeah, I like it. I think some combo of suggesting, make sure you're in, not in editing mode, but in, yeah.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
and maybe just, I don't know if you'd want to pop a quick box with those instructions at the top of the document or in a comment. Or I could but, also then, like, if there's substantial rationale behind why you're making a change, I think that's helpful to just leave in a comment so we can kind of see each other's thoughts as well. Just quite a lot of work and thought went into this.
Mhm.
Hey, Alan, could you scroll down to the youth section real quick?
Yeah.
I just want to see some.
TikTok.
I guess my first thought, you could scroll back up to like the list of people that we were trying to reach out to.
Yes.
When I see like educators in schools, I almost see like youth being like a sub portion of that where we could like almost combine it or like use them together to help reach both areas. Just a thought that popped into my head. I know there'd be different information on each of those, but I feel like we could use the educators to help engage the youth and vice versa.
Mhm.
But yeah, this is awesome. It's really good stuff.
Got the Zoom header over all my usual buttons. So standard. Great. Okay.
Yeah, and I think one other thing that could help with all of this is maybe like mostly for the general public, but also all of this, like you mentioned, like things like median household income and median, house prices. I have, a bunch of slides from other presentations and all of that we can maybe aggregate. And this kind of relates to something that workforce housing is talking about, like the housing snapshot. So
Yeah.
maybe if we could, um, have that, just as a baseline, and then we can also, maybe tailor those to all of those audiences. And so I know Alan and I have kind of worked on it a little bit. So we can, maybe compile that for this group next time to look at and maybe
Yeah.
start thinking of ways we can tailor those to each of these different constituencies.
This was part of it's called a double design process where you design the you design the problem and then you design the solution to the problem. So
Okay.
that first diamond of like feedback ideation is about refining what is the problem that we're trying to solve. And I felt that kind of expanding, these archetypes of groups that we would talk to helps us refine what kinds of things that we would need. And then as we ideate on the solutions, we might see more overlap across them. Because to your point, Daphne, I think that housing snapshot would be very useful across almost all of these, right? So that then becomes like, yes, this is deliverable number one that we know will be most useful. We'll get the most bang for our buck. But the process here of defining and kind of thinking, what would we do for this group? What we do for this group? That creates the opportunity for us to look for patterns and overlap to really be more effective. Is one of the ideas here. But yeah, the housing snapshot is still in the back of my mind of like, oh yeah, I want to make that with Daphne.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, back to the agenda.
Sure. Yeah.
Alan has homework to get that uploaded to the SharePoint so that we all have access to it. Has everyone accessed or gotten into the, Carrie, you have because you read the thing. John, any problems with it?
No, I just can't pull it up on my work computer, so I gotta use my phone and my
Love that
home
local,
laptop, but
Yeah.
other than that,
local
no.
IT. Yeah.
We gotta make it mobile friendly, so.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, any topics for next time that we want to do? Otherwise, I think the directive for all of us is take a couple minutes to read through the draft. Once I send it out, I'll upload it and ping Daphne, and
Yeah.
Daphne, you can communicate with everybody?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then we can go from there.
Mm-hmm.
Any other business for next time that we want to discuss?
Could I get a reminder about sort of the timeline? We're just sort of doing everything as fast as we can, or is there an order of operations you'd thought about in terms of which constituents to address, or, you know?
Yeah, I don't think we have a timeline on like certain constituents or anything, but I think overall between the two subcommittees, we're hoping to, yeah, like these first couple months, just kind of getting an idea of what we need and what needs to go out there. And then we're hoping by, I think in the plan timeline thing, it was like in like August or September to start kind of like writing out more of the plan. So, you know, after we see what we've needed and we've met with the other subcommittee to know, you know, what they're kind of focusing on, then we can start writing in the fall. And then we're hoping to have like a full-on plan by like early next year to have it adopted around like April or May of next year. So,
Cool.
yeah. So it is until, you know, we have 10 months, but it's probably, we're gonna try and do it, you know, as fast as we can, basically. Yeah.
And the one that we can move as fast as we can on is the renter and tenant resources was one that there's no like phase gate, like for a lot of the education materials that we create requires a more concrete plan first. So that's our kind of like, we put a pin in it and said like, yes, when we know, we will do that. But the renter resources was one that we can like, oh yeah, we could do that tomorrow if we had unlimited time and energy.
I love the idea of working with the alders to identify some easy wins for tenant protection too. You
Yeah.
know, that's your stretch goal, but I think that's a great goal,
Yeah.
given some of the rollback of, you know, the historically strong Wisconsin tenant protections that went away. So, yeah.
Groovy. All right. With no topics less on the agenda, I motion to adjourn.
I think you're the king, so you can just do it,
Yeah,
right?
you can
Is that
just
how it
adjourn
works
it.
on subcommittees? We can just do stuff?
Yeah.
We don't have to do the thing? Okay. All right. Meeting adjourned at 5:34 p.m. Thank you very
All right.
much, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
See some of you at Way Forward next week.
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome.
Lovely, yeah.
Cool.
All right.
Bye.
See ya.